Good afternoon and welcome to season 2, episode 16 of Sipping Tea with Stacy T. I am Stacy. How are you doing? So, started off with a technical difficulty. It would not stream live, so I'm hoping that you all can see me. I'm hoping that everything is coming through clearly. Okay, great. Wonderful. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Hope everything is well where you are. And as you may be seeing this live or looking at it later, I hope that you are blessed. I hope everything is well with your family. It is, almost, I can't even believe it, y'all. It is almost May already. This year is literally zooming past. Again, the older that I get, I feel like time goes a little bit faster. And I'm curious how you all feel about that. If you feel like that's true for you as well. Thank you. Thank you. I put it up a little bit, tried a little something different. Um, but yeah, I feel like the time is really just kind of zooming past us. So, this is where we are. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I spoke about on my other social media, which is chasing shadows. And y'all, this week in social media for me has been a very um, how do I say this? It's been a very spirit filled, spirit led. Like I can feel God's presence multiple times throughout when I've been talking to people, and people have actually shared with me that they have had that same experience. So I'm very grateful. God is doing what He's doing, and I don't know exactly what that is in this season, but I'm sitting in diamond season. I'm sitting in diamond season. So for those of you who don't know what that is, um, I feel like, and I spoke about it a little bit last week, that God told me that I'm in a space of a lot of confirmation. Amen. I'm in a space where I've been under a lot of pressure. I've felt a lot of heat as far as, what I've been managing and what I've been trying to process and go through, clearly with God's help. But in that space of time, it has felt very heavy. It's felt very hard. I felt very isolated, even though there are people around me. And I think people have this misconception that, well, I'm around. I don't know how you could feel isolated. There are people that have been in marriages and have felt single, felt alone in a marriage, right? So it is entirely possible to have people around you and for you to still be processing that feeling of isolation. And also understanding that isolation is a part of healing. God needs there to be times where He's able to impact your thought alone, right? Because everybody's going to have an opinion, a thought. They're going to have, ways that they think you should do things differently. They're going to have ways that they don't think that you've really processed fully. They're going to have judgments based on, how things are happening. Because again, healing is not perfect. Healing means confronting some of the things about yourself, as well as having an understanding of how other people show up or don't show up, how they may be healing or not healing, and then how you can mesh those two things together. And that sometimes is challenging. That sometimes is 100% challenging because you're trying to figure out yourself. You're trying to learn new portions of yourself. You're trying to step out of patterns that maybe you have adopted for a long period of time and saying, you know what, I've been like that. I've showed up like that, but that's not how I want to show up in the future. So again, it's a lot. It can be absolutely a lot, but this is where we find ourselves right now. Also, as an update, still writing the play, still very excited about it. Have gotten lots of content, really good subject matter. So it's been interesting because I've been like writing little snippets so that I can hold on to them and then meld them together. Now I've done that in writing some of my plays, but not all of them have been written like this. Some of them, I mean, very few of my plays have been written start to finish, just like with no breakups in it. Typically my plays are written, I start the beginning, I may make a couple of notes of things I want to make sure to include, then I might skip a whole chunk and then write a whole scene and then marry the two together. um just my creative process. Everybody is gonna, do things a little bit differently, but that's how it's worked for me so far. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm in a space where it's making me really happy. It is something that I look forward to. And I'm hoping that for all of you, you are finding something that you look forward to. I'm hoping that you're dedicating your time and your energy to that and not giving your time and energy to other things that may try to make you feel, minimized or make you feel like you don't matter. I'm hoping you're not dedicating times to, worrying about what other people are doing or judging their behavior. I'm hoping you're really dedicating time to you. It is important to focus on you, because the reality of it is even as a person who wants to help other people, or as a Christian in particular, you're supposed to give from your overflow, right? That's why God is going to open up the windows of heaven and give you those things, right? The blessings are not just going to be for you. It's going to be to make sure that other people can take, or to benefit. I was going to say take advantage, but that's not the right phrase. Other people can benefit from your overflow, from what you have. You're not supposed to pour from an empty vessel. Like, what are you pouring? You're pouring dirt, you're pouring air. What are you pouring? So you have to have your vessel full. And that's really important. Sometimes it's a rewiring or unlearning to relearn different behaviors, different thought patterns, and so on and so forth. I think oftentimes when I think about that, for me in particular, I think about how we were raised to be humble and to be servants and all the things. But sometimes people misunderstand that, and they feel like in order to be humble, you have to be invisible, and that's not the same thing. So again, sometimes you have to unlearn some of the things you've learned before, just so you can learn it the way that it actually was meant to be said or to be experienced. So that's where I'm at, y'all. That's where I'm at. So today, it's sipping tea with Stacey T, right? You have to have the tea. So what is the tea? Today is Taylor's, which I've never really, I think maybe I've seen the brand before, but y'all, I'm horrible with this. Taylor's white hibiscus and peach. So we're going to see what this one tastes like. Give it a quick once over. Again, it's not a tea brand that I'm very familiar with. This is an unboxing. I have not even opened the box. So that is happening right now as we speak. All right. I do like the light color of the box. It's vibrant and all that jazz, right? So here it is. Taylor's white hibiscus and peach. So let's open this. Let's see how long they're telling me I have to steep it. Oh, only 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. So let's get this out. Let's see how much is in the bag, because y'all, we know that that's an important thing for some people, especially because not every tea steeps equally. Some of them get really dark, some of them they don't at all. So it's actually the size of this container, which sometimes they're actually smaller, but you will see. Not sure if you can tell. Let me see. So the tea only goes to literally right here, y'all. So that in itself is like, okay, let's see how much flavor you're packing in a small amount of tea. Let's see what we have going on here. So let me get this hot water in here, and y'all know I have honey, so the honey is on standby. We're gonna let this steep first. All right, got the hot water in there. So you know how like sometimes I pour the hot water on top of the tea and the tea gets dark? Nothing has happened. Like it is literally, it looks like it is lightly tinted water in there. And you guys can see the steam, right? You can see the steam. So it looks like lightly tinted water. So I'm going to try to, push the issue along a little bit by tapping on the tea bag. So now it looks like it's beige water. That's what it looks like. So this, I'm guessing, is just not going to get dark, but I'm curious to see about the flavor. So today, what are we talking about? We're talking about chasing shadows. This is a topic that God gave to me on Monday, and I knew that immediately that this is what I was going to be talking about today. And it was funny because on Monday, I actually had anticipated talking about being conforming versus transforming, right? We talk a lot about, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So I was expecting that was going to be what I was talking about then. And I thought I was going to be talking about that this week. But God told me to like push that one to the next day, which I did. And he told me to actually talk about this subject. But when he said chasing shadows, I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Obviously we know what a shadow is. We've seen them. We've kind of played with them. Sometimes we try to do shadow puppets and all the things, right? But shadows are only, I would say, as powerful as the fact of the darkness that is a part of it, right? Now, what I will say is, as I was really thinking about this, when I was talking about it on Monday, and I was really trying to formulate what God was trying to have me deliver, I feel like I had to talk about the shadows that I've experienced or been in. And one of the things that I have to express in my style of healing and in my style of communication is my level of transparency, right? So when I had a 6-year relationship, and I really thought, and this is like it's in my 20s, I think my late 20s into my early 30s, that I was dating this gentleman. And when I was dating him, obviously it was a long period of time. And some people are like, 6 years, girl. Why would you with somebody for 6 years? Like, girl, what were you thinking? Why would you be with somebody for that long? There's lots of reasons. And a lot of those reasons are part of the shadows, right? When you don't feel like you're worthy of, a person, or you feel like in order for people to pay attention to you, or in order for people to like you, or to love you, or to give you any type of energy or attention or affection, if you feel like you have to be performative. And what do I mean? Very early on, people teach kids how to be performative, right? They tell them to come in a room, so and so's over, Stacy, come on over. And people didn't do this to me. I'm just using my own self as an example, right? But they'd be like, Stacy, come on out here and sing for the company, right? How many of you know somebody who like has, people come over and they're like, go ahead and sing a song. So and so's out here. Remember that joke you were talking about? Oh, my little Johnny knows how to do a magic trick, right? So you teach your kids to be performative early. Now, sometimes people will say that I'm teaching them to be confident or I'm supporting them. And one thing doesn't negate the other, right? I'm not saying that what you did was bad or wrong or any of those things. But what I'm saying is very often kids will start to learn the lessons of, okay, when I did this, when I told that joke, when I came out and sang the song, I got immediate gratification, right? Immediate gratification. People were clapping and cheering and saying how wonderful I was and all the things, right? So immediately you put in your head, you catalog, if I want people to clap, if I want people to cheer, if I want people to say that I'm great or I'm awesome, or all I need to do is perform. Okay, so hold on to that. So now you're getting older, but you're not that lesson doesn't go away. That lesson actually stays and it may grow. Oh, I got this thing. I won this award. People are cheering for me. And again, I'm not saying that that's bad, because you do want to encourage people. But one thing doesn't mean that it doesn't have multiple impacts, right? If, for example, somebody got into an argument with somebody, right? You get into an argument with somebody, the argument may be justified, right? Because you're not seeing eye to eye. Maybe the person was disrespectful, maybe the person discounted you, but I'm getting in the argument and somebody else may be overhearing it. And now let's say parents that are arguing as a example, right? You're arguing, you're justified in being irritated with your person, but your kids are overhearing the conversation, and your kids are also impacted. Even though the conversation did not happen with them, they're impacted by not necessarily overhearing it, which may be the case, but they also will see the energy has shifted in the home. The parents are not communicating. People are snippier than they typically are, biting people's heads off, that type of a thing. Why? Because the energy between the two people has shifted. So even though your intent was not to involve somebody else or to have impact somewhere else, things that happen in one place have impact in others, right? So when I was in this relationship, the relationship didn't last. Obviously, I'm not married, right? But the relationship did not last. And when the relationship ended, I was heartbroken. I was confused. Because I had really tried to do all the things. I had tried to show as much love as I could, as much as I knew how. I tried to stand in the gap. I tried to pray. I tried to be there for the person. I tried to give the person space. It was a lot. There was a lot going on there. He had lost a parent, so there was a lot that was going on at the end of our relationship. It didn't matter what I did. I literally tried all the things that I knew how. I even got advice from other people. I tried to implement some of those things. It just did not work, right? So on paper, we were still in a relationship, but any other way, like we weren't seeing each other, we did not communicate, it just started to fall apart. So there was a point where I said, okay, this is more painful, because it's basically like you're saying you don't want to be with me, but you're not willing to actually have the conversation about not being with me. And it's hurting me that I'm calling you and you're not calling me back. And it's hurting me. So what was happening is my heart was being gravely impacted. My heart was going to the shadows, right? Um, and what I recognize in me is that I have, for a lifetime, have been chasing variety of shadows. And one of the shadows was being loved on, right? Being cared for, being loved. That shadow, when you start chasing it, can feel like this. For me, it felt like an illusion, right? Oh, so some people do have this. Okay, cool. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know this was possible. So for me, I'm chasing, running after, desiring so deeply this thing, deep, deeply wanting this connection, deeply wanting to feel something like what I was seeing other people experience. And so many of the choices that I made, what happened? It had an impact, right? So me being the young girl who was getting all the, oh, you're great and oh, you're wonderful and you're so smart and you're so funny or you're so talented or whatever, getting all of those accolades, but I'm wanting the impact over here. So I'm chasing a shadow, right? A shadow of what I think love looks like. I'm chasing a shadow of what I think love should feel like, but I don't quite know. I don't quite know, right? That shadow for me became like an overcast. Now, let me go into, so that's me as a kid. I'm going to bring myself now to this relationship that I had mentioned before, which is a 6-year relationship. So when the relationship was over, and I ended it. So I want to be clear, he didn't end it because he wouldn't have. I think in his mind, well, we're not communicating, so it's over, and she should know that it's over. Like, he's kind of a matter of fact type of a person. I'm a person that likes actual closure, though I do understand now in my healing that I may never get it from some people. They may never grant me that. I have to decide that the closure is the closure that I'm getting and be done with it. So after that relationship was ended, I went into a very, very dark season. And the reason why I'm sharing this is not because I feel like it's something to like glamorize or because I think that I think that it's whatever. I'm saying it because it's the truth. It's the truth of what I experienced. And I remember very distinctly at points of this period in life for me, feeling like I was in, you know how like I don't know if you've ever seen like the movie Daylight where you're in like a tunnel and you're in the middle of the tunnel and maybe the lights go out. That's what it would feel like for me at periods of it, right? And I remember people saying things like, and even I would go to church and do the things because again, when you are raised in a specific environment, you can mimic, the behavior, right? I could go to church, nobody would know that I was depressed, nobody would know that I was operating in functional sadness, right? Except for my family, obviously they knew, but nobody outside of that knew that because I didn't allow for people to know that. I allowed for people to know what it was I was comfortable letting them know. And if I wasn't comfortable letting you know, then you weren't going to know. That's basically what it was going to be, right? So in this in this particular situation, I remember sometimes hearing sermons and I remember people talking about, just keep looking towards the light. I'm going to tell y'all right now, there was no light. I literally felt like I was standing in the middle of the tunnel and I could look to the left or to the right and I saw bupkis. I saw nothing. It was dark. I didn't know how to manage that grave a level of disappointment. And quite frankly, in so many ways, I feel like, now looking at that relationship, I feel like I was using his affection as a lifeline. I feel like I was using instead of dealing with some of the other things that were going on inside my mind and my head and my heart, because I wasn't in that space at all. I literally was needing him in a way that people fantasize like Disney princes, right? He's going to come and save me from, this bad feeling I have about myself, and he's going to make everything okay, and we're going to live happily ever after. Well, ma'am and sir, that did not happen, right? That did not happen at all. Why? Because Disney is fake, y'all. It is fake. It is lovely. And if you've ever been to actual Disney, you know that the palace, well, now I've heard it's actually a place you can go into, but when I was a kid and went, at age 11, it was not real. It was or 10. I don't know, 10 or 11. It was absolutely not a place you could go into. When I went to go get into the palace, we walked underneath the little, that opening, the arch, and there was nothing, y'all. Zero. So even that, even Disney tells you right from the beginning, oh, you see that palace, you think it's a real castle you're gonna walk into. You're walking into a gift shop. That's what you're walking into. So in any event, I was in this tunnel with no light on either side. And what I will tell you is God had to meet me in that tunnel, right? He had to meet me in that tunnel because even in the tunnel, there was no shadows. It was just darkness, right? There was a period of time, and I remember distinctly, I feel like God was like, okay, she's not going to come out of this. Like, this is not something that I can just leave her and let her sit in. And this was not a period of time that people went to therapy conventionally. It wasn't a thing that people really spoke about. I'm not against that. As you know, I'm a Christ in the couch kind of a girl, but that was not something that was really discussed then, right? So God was like, okay, I'm going to have to go in there. And then I remember distinctly one day feeling like I was in a tunnel, and I remember like looking my head to like the right or the left, and I saw a flicker. It wasn't like the light was like, it wasn't like the lights came on. It wasn't like they hit the circuit breaker and the lights were like, woo, and everything came back bright. No, it was a flicker. So this is why I tell people when they say this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. That little light, that little flicker is what gave me and restored any measure of hope. It restored any measure of me feeling like I might have the ability to come back to feeling human again. Because I was feeling so out of body in that experience. So I get out of the, the tunnels little by little, and a candle, right? Be a candle, be a flashlight, be something. I don't care if you're a pen light, if you can hold on to that pen light, because this is the thing, right? We think that sometimes that little light doesn't make a difference, but I'm going to tell you, a little light in pitch blackness, it is bright. It is brighter than you would what you would assume, right? It's much brighter than what you would assume. So I like I said, I was able to, kind of get myself with God's help through that. And I know people were praying for me, and I'm appreciative of that. But this was the first time that I felt like that struggle, that it was a me and God struggle to manage my way through to the other side, to out of where this was feeling, to out of this moment, right, for me. So moving forward, I ended up, getting better and stronger and stronger. And I remember after that, after God brought me out of that in the fullest way that I can imagine or that I can describe, I remember being like, okay, God, thank you so much for getting me out of this. If I am supposed to be single and I remember praying this prayer, God, if I'm never going to find my person, because I've always been the girl that wanted to be married. Some girls don't think about that. They don't think about their wedding day. It's not a thing for them. I've always been that, which is funny because I was a tomboy, but I always thought about that, right? So as I got out of this particular situation, I remember saying, God, and I was single for a good while after. I went on a few dates, but I was really single for a while after. And I said, if you continue to let me, feel like I'm healing and growing. And I didn't use the word healing then, but I'm applying it now because that was my contention. If you let me feel better from how I'm feeling right now, God, I will love you, I will honor you, and I will serve you all the days of my life, even if you don't give me the desire of my heart, which is to be married. And I know people are like, well, Stacey, you were praying a defeatist prayer because God gives you the desires of your heart. Yes, I get it, y'all. I get it. The reality also is God gives you what he knows you need. He gives you also what is going to fulfill purpose, right? And the long and short of it is there's more women than there are men in the world. So unless there was another, a grand growing, God decided, you know what, let me throw some more men on the earth, grown men, let me throw some more. Unless that happens, the reality is some women that want to get married are not going to get married. That's just the reality of it, right? Again, I'm not saying that applies to me, but I'm saying in my head, in my heart, I literally said to God, if you don't, then I'm going to still love you. I'm still going to honor you. I'm still going to serve you all the days of my life, right? Single for a long time. And I'm going to tell you, this is the first time that I actually experienced true peace. The peace that I didn't think was actually possible. I thought it was literally kind of the work of a fairy tale, like a bibbity bobbity boo moment, right? Boom, you have peace, right? I didn't think that it was a real thing that people experienced, because most people that I had noticed, they didn't. I mean, it's not to say that they were not peaceful, or calm in moments, but I didn't know that they had peace in their life, in their mind, in their spirit, right? So I remember feeling that and I was like, wow, this is what this feels like. And y'all, when I say it's almost like this intoxicating feeling that you don't want to let go of. Like, I'm like, I don't want to let go of this. I do not for any reason want for something to come into my life that disrupts this feeling, this moment. It's kind of like when people say you're so calm that your central nervous system is calm. It's that level of peace, y'all. That level. All right, before I get into this more, I'm just going to tell y'all, when I say that this tea has next to no color, I mean next to no color whatsoever. So let's try it. Let me see what so it's white, hibiscus, and peach. So I taste a little bit, and I mean little, y'all, like real little. But we're going to add some honey to it because it really, and it's surprising to me because I purposely let it steep for longer, thinking, okay, maybe if I let it sit in there longer, maybe then that will do the trick. But it doesn't really taste much like it doesn't, it has such a faint flavor that I'm like, okay. And again, for somebody who's like a novice tea drinker or really like, there are some people who say they like coffee, but they really just want a little bit of a coffee flavor in their sugar water. That type of a thing. It tastes like that. So it's that kind of level of tea drinker. So for those who like will put a tea bag in their tea and like dunk it a couple times and they're like, okay, that's enough. It's that. L said 1 minute for tea smokes. Huh? For steeps. L said 11 minutes. Yeah, so I've been the whole time that I've been talking, it's been in here steeping and it's literally not even getting any darker whatsoever. Like literally, I wish I could show you all. It's basically the color of this. It's literally basically the color of this bamboo. It's not even my complexion. It's not even my complexion, y'all. It's that light. So in any event, I'm gonna let it steep a little bit more with the honey in there and see if that brings out something. Yeah, it's real light. It is real light. There's no darkness in it whatsoever. So I put the honey in it and I'm like now hitting the tea bag and it might have got a half a shade darker, but that's it. But that's it. And it only said 1 to 2 minutes, by the way, which I was like, okay, I'm not gonna have it just steep for 2 minutes, but in any event. So coming back, I got out of this relationship. I'm out of, I'm in a space where I'm feeling peace in my life. I'm like so grateful to God for this peace that, for this peace that I have, right? For this peace that I have in my mind and in my heart, right? And then I meet this next gentleman. And when I met him, the intention was not, it was just like, okay, I'm meeting somebody that's cool, getting to know somebody again, cool. But I was not thinking about relationship at all because I'm telling you, y'all, when I say that the peace that I had achieved was so amazing that I'm telling y'all right now, for anybody who achieves that, please hold on to it with everything that you have in you. Hold on to the peace. Hold on to it. Okay. So what I will say is this. When the relationship ended, all the shadows that I thought I had dealt with reoccurred, right? And by shadows, I mean all those areas of hurt that I felt like I was not enough. All those areas where I had said that I was going to move forward and, that I was enough and that I was lovely and I was loved and I was lovable and all those areas, I was like, okay, cool. That I know me, I know what I can do. All the things. When that happened, the shadows reoccurred. So let's think about an actual shadow. A shadow can only exist or can only be present because there's light still there, right? There is still light there, but oftentimes when we're thinking about a shadow, we don't think about the light. We don't realize that they actually the light can exist without a shadow, but the shadow cannot exist without light, right? What I will say is, like, some of us chase, or we sit in a space of wanting what is familiar. And I get it. When you're healing, everything feels so unfamiliar. Everything feels exhausting. Everything feels tiring. Everything feels unsteady. And you're like learning about this new person, and you're learning about new boundaries that you may need to set for yourself. And you're learning about how you mesh with certain people and how you maybe don't mesh with certain people. You're recognizing periods of time that are different in your life and things that you need to change, patterns of behavior that other people present to you that rub up against where you're trying to go and grow. So there's so much that's happening at one time when you're healing that it can be so overwhelming. I understand fully why somebody would want to find something that felt familiar, even if it was not good for you. That is why some people will stay in relationships that are toxic for way too long, because there's a comfort and familiarity. People will say the devil you know versus the devil you know, and I don't want, as I've said before, I don't want any of the devil, right? But there's a reason why people do that. So the shadows promote that thing, right? That thing that even when you're like, man, that man. And this is the thing, this is the thing that's tricky about the shadow, right? The shadows that happen in your mind is that the shadow will tell you, you know what, maybe that dude wasn't that bad, Stacy. Yeah, I know he didn't call when he said, and his communication wasn't that hot. But overall, I mean, men don't communicate. So maybe you should just choose this one because, you're not going to get it perfect. I didn't expect perfect, but I do expect for you to respond to my text messages or my phone calls. That I expect, right? I expect for you to do and, be a man of your word. If you say you're going to do something, I expect for you to do it, right? And if you can't do it, I expect for there to be, again, communication. So yeah, that expectation is not something that I'm willing to flex on or shift in. You need to be able to communicate, period and point blank. I don't care that it's not comfortable for you to communicate. I don't care that you've avoided it the entirety of your life. In order to be in a healthy relationship, you have to figure out, one, why you're not willing to communicate, and two, why you think that communication is only about you. Right? Why do you think, as a person trying to navigate or exist in a relationship with anybody else, friendship, family, dating, marriage, whatever it is, work, how do you think that communication is only about you? So if you're in your mind thinking, I'm only going to do the things that make me comfortable and everybody else is too bad, so sad, you're not going to be in any healthy relationships. That's not going to work, period and point blank. There's zero way. If your only way of communicating is about what's good for me, when it's good for me, how it's good for me, if that's it, then it's never going to work, because you don't exist in a bubble unto yourself, right? When you're in isolation with God, then that mentality works because it's you and God. Once you're out of that isolation, which does occur and needs to occur because you only heal in community, when that happens, then guess what? The shadow that was in your mind that God extracted, he's going to allow for that shadow to revisit you, because the shadow needs to be tested. Your ability to surpass and move past the shadow and not chase it again is what God is trying to figure out. So again, we're sitting in shadows, we're watching shadows, we're chasing shadows. Why? Because they're familiar. Why? Because we know them. Why? Because we're afraid. And we're not willing to admit that we're afraid of the new season, of our new selves, of figuring out what's up and down, because everything feels so turned around. When you're in a space that you are consistently just going around and around and around, it is literally like watching a dog or a cat chase their tail. And some people are mean enough to put a bell on the end of a cat's tail or a dog's tail and just see that thing just whip around in circles. And then they'll stop and they try to go the opposite way to, whip around in circles. And they're still trying to catch that thing because then people are like, but animals are so bright. I'm like, but are they if they're chasing their tail? But that's a story for another day. Don't come for me if that gets boring. It does. The unfortunate thing is that I understand the why. So I don't sit here in judgment about why people want to go towards something that feels comfortable or familiar. I entirely understand it. I've been there. I have done it. Right? I'm like, man, everything feels so unsteady. Maybe I should just give more grace. Maybe I should just apply this. Maybe I should just do this. Maybe you should actually just be moving towards what God is trying to tell you to do. The reality of it is when we say that we are followers of Christ, when we say that we're Christians, when we say that we're healing, and we say we're healing with God, God is light, right? He is light. He's love. He's light. He's lots of things. But in this context, we're talking about him being light, right? And if he's light, he illuminates everything. He illuminates the situation. This is why sometimes it's hard for people to heal, because he's also illuminating you, right? He's illuminating who you are. He's illuminating who other people are. So now you're not able to just sit in this space of like, oh, I didn't even know, I didn't even see, because he's literally guiding you to all truth. He's showing you who you've been. He's showing you your patterns of behavior. Now, whether or not you choose to put on, your blue blockers, or you choose to put on something where you can't see at all, he's still showing those things to you. So we're, chasing after God, but not really. It's like we're chasing after God kind of to the side, off to the side a little bit. But then when we need something, we try to, right back behind him, right up underneath him, right? We want to touch the hem of his garment, right? But instead of wanting to do the thing that may be more difficult, instead of wanting to have the more challenging conversation with other people and ourselves, we chase the shadows. We want to do the thing that's familiar, the thing that's easier. It's easier in the moment. I'm just going to tell you, from my experience, it's easier in the moment. It's not necessarily easier in the long run. But the thing that is wild is, as I was doing this and I was talking about, chasing the shadows, when I was doing this on TikTok, one of the things that, as I was speaking, that God relayed to me was, if we're truly chasing after him, and we know that God is light, and we're going to be in the shadow of God, even his shadow is not really a shadow, because anything that exists around him is light. So if we're chasing after him, we're chasing light. We're not chasing the shadows. We're not chasing the familiar. We're not chasing for somebody to validate us. We're not chasing even our own validation and needing for people to say that I'm great, or needing for people to, pat me on the back, or needing for people to say, that they appreciate whatever it is that you're needing and that you're looking for. And you've been like, if I get this thing, then I'll feel like I'm accomplished. If I get this thing, then I'll know that people appreciate me. If I get this thing, then I know people will think I'm good enough, or I have value. God already gave you value. So it doesn't matter that people will tell you or not tell you. And I know the natural us likes it. I like it. I like it when people say thank you. I like when people say, wow, Stacey, that was really smart. Way that you brought that in, or Stacey, you have some wisdom, or Stacey, like, I like it. Your ego is going to like those things. That's a natural part of who you are. But I'm not chasing that. I notice it. And I also will notice if I'm like, okay, like, and this has been a thing. I've noticed it when people feel like I need that. Like when people feel like if I don't get it, that I'm like, y'all, I'm telling you right now, the plays that I've written, and when people come to me with compliments, or when people have said, oh, wow, you got to speak at this place, or wow, Stacey, your presentation, I literally always give God the glory, because I know that he gave me the ability to think the way that I do. I know that he gave me the ability to process language and to communicate the way that I do. I don't think that I got this because he literally endows each and every one of us. He's like, okay, you do this thing. You do this thing. You have a crazy amount of long suffering. You're going to be able to do this for the kingdom. You have a next level of patience. You're going to be able to do this thing for the kingdom. You have the ability to communicate effectively with people. You're going to be, it's not like he was like, ooh, okay, I'm going to make sure that this one has all these things because, they're cute, right? We're all beautiful in his eye. So my big thing that I just wanted us to walk away with is, what are you chasing? Are you chasing shadows? Are you chasing things that people may have said to you? And I think that the word chasing for me threw me off when God said it, because I'm like, no, I'm not chasing after those things. I'm not. But the reality of it is, the things that you give your time, your energy, your attention, your affection, your brain space, your capacity, your heart, your mind, all those things, all the things that you put in the forefront, or you're giving this much to, you're chasing after those. And validation and love have been two things that I feel like in my life, two shadows. And I call them shadows because even though I had flickers of feeling like I made it, right? Oh, I have the thing. I feel like, oh my gosh, I made it. I have the love. So I don't have to worry about, I don't have to chase that anymore. God is basically reminding me, you chase after me. You chase after my love. I give you the thing, but you chase after me. You're chasing shadows. Shadows are going to always move around, right? If I move this way, the shadow looks different. If I move this way, the shadow looks different. But if I chase after God and his light, it always looks the same. It always looks the same. Chasing the shadows is going to have you running around like an animal chasing its tail. That's what's going to have you doing. Chasing affection, chasing words of affirmation, chasing, all the things. Oh, Stacey, I thought you were going to be able to do this by now. Oh, Stacey, I thought you were going to be here by now. Well, guess what, ma'am and sir? So did I. But this is where we find ourselves, right? But what I have to do in this space, in this current time where God has me, is I need to chase after him. I need to chase after his light. Chasing after the shadows is going to have me crazy, somewhere in a corner, sucking my thumb and rocking myself. That's what it's going to have me doing. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I know that that's the goal. Let's make Stacey so emotionally all over the place that she doesn't recognize who she is in God's kingdom. So she doesn't recognize what God is already planning and what he's already set in motion for her, because she's so distracted by that, chasing shadows, chasing her tail, wondering why. God, why me? All the things that people have done, and I will say I have done. If you haven't done it, good for you. I have done it, right? So chasing those shadows, chasing the feeling of not being seen anymore, chasing the shadow of not feeling like people feel me as valid, having moments. And this is the thing, right? When you're already in that space and you're chasing those shadows, you think the devil's not going to put something in your path to be like, see, you're right. People don't see you as valuable. People don't think you have any ability. People don't think you're worthy of doing XYZ. That's the reality. No to the asking why me. Because I'll tell you why not. He'll tell you why not. And I told you, I mean, when he said to me about the whole betrayal, he's like, I get betrayed every day. I get betrayed every day. I was like, wow, God, I don't want to call you petty, but the way you're coming at me right now, that's not really an embrace. You're like, basically, like, I felt like you were like, yeah, and then he doubled down by saying his biggest betrayal led to Calvary. So did you want Calvary or not? It's basically what I felt like he was saying. And I was like, okay, then. Well, I guess there's nothing else for me to chat with you with today. So have a blessed rest of your day, Lord. But the reality is, and all of these things come to your mind, and the enemy, and this is the thing, God knows that you've been through an area. God knows that you've already worked through something. God knows that you're in a space where you've given something to him. He's worked with you to, increase your faith or increase your trust in yourself or whatever it is, right? And as you're doing all those things, then he's like, okay, Stacey, I feel like you're doing well in this area. So now we have to give you a test, right? So now we have to make sure that what you've been doing actually has stuck. What you've learned in this season, you've actually retained it. Because all of us, I'm gonna say for myself, maybe you guys didn't do this, but I 100% would cram for a test, and then the information would be gone as soon as the test was back in the teacher's hand. I didn't remember what I did, what I learned, none of that. I crammed the information in order to pass the test, right? But retaining the information, what did I retain? I don't remember nothing. You want to know when the Magna Carta was? Like, sir, I think it was 1512, by the way. I might be wrong. But the reality of it is back when I was in like 8th grade and under, I had the ability to memorize things just by reading them the first time. Or if a teacher was discussing them in class, I would just remember it the first time. As I got older and more things were going in my brain, I was like, oh, Houston, we have a problem. I'm not able to do things in the same pattern that I was prior to that, right? But again, what I will say is that, I want you to really be very careful about this season that we're in. This season that we're in is the enemy is getting very, very desperate. The enemy is getting, especially when you start to feel more confident in what God is doing in your life, even though the season in itself looks crazy, right? The season in itself, you're like, okay, All right, God, we're in diamond season. But I'm feeling very cubic zirconia right now, Lord. I'm feeling very cubic. I know this. You said I'm in diamond season, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm feeling diamondique, very cubic zirconia. They're still very beautiful, but they're not the real thing. And so I'm saying to God, desperate is right. I'm saying to God, God, I don't understand this season. I don't necessarily like it, but I trust you. And he's saying, I don't need you to understand it. I don't need you to like it, but I'm glad that you're learning to fully trust me. I'm glad that you're walking in obedience because that's what I need. I don't need the sacrifice. I don't need the things. I don't need the deeds. I need you to be obedient. When I ask you to do a thing, I need you to do the thing. I know it may not make sense to you in the moment. It may never make sense to you, but I know because I know all the things. I know all the interweavings, how everything is interlocked and everything is interlaid. I know how these things are interwoven, right? So that there's no gaps. There's nothing that falls through the cracks. I know what I'm doing. If you trust me, you'll believe that I know what I'm doing and you'll want to be a part of the process to make sure that what I need to do gets done because you want to be a part of it. So that's where I'm at. And I just really needed to express the fact that I know that the shadows can sometimes feel overwhelming. If you used to watch those cartoons when we were kids, right? They would have, a regular, they would have somebody like in the room and then they would have like a shadow and it would like tap the person on the back. And all of a sudden the shadow was huge and the shadow was bigger than it should have been. Stop giving the shadow room to grow. Stop giving the shadow room to grow. Keep applying God's word to it. So every time the shadow tries to grow in your mind, apply light to it, which is the word of God. Every time the shadow tries to tap you on your shoulder, first of all, don't be tapping me on my shoulder, right? But every time the shadow tries to tap you on your shoulder, say the name of Jesus, right? And we know that the we always talk about how the devil, the demons will flee. Sometimes it breaks what's happening in your mind. Sometimes you need to say Jesus when your mind is going into a shadow, when your thoughts are not his thoughts, when your thoughts are really, defeating thoughts, when you're not manifesting the things that he is trying to build through you and the things that he's purposed for you to do, but you're saying, I can't, I'm not enough, I don't deserve to be here. People are not going to understand. People are not going to support. People are going to think I'm crazy. People probably already think you're crazy. So you might as well do what God asked you to do. And at least you have God, right? At least you have God that's saying no. They may think that right now, but when I establish you in the way that I'm going to, because you're being obedient, there's going to be nothing that they can do but watch that. And that's what he was trying to show me through this diamond season. People that are wanting to, there's going to be no way that people will be able to say they don't see what I've done in you and through you. There's going to be no way that they don't see it because diamonds are brilliant and they're meant to reflect and refract light. They can cause fire to start. And the only way that they're scratched is with another diamond. They're made under heat and pressure in darkness. So if you've been in these areas where you felt dark, you felt like you're in darkness, the situation has you in darkness, right? It has you in this heavy, hard, kind of impassable feeling, right? God is doing the work. He's adding pressure, which I'm like, really? But he's adding pressure and he's adding heat to these moments so that when the carbon, right, then becomes the diamond, first, no one will be able to claim that it was anybody but God, but nobody will ever be able to look away because the light that God shines through you will be like the most beautiful diamond. So again, no shadows, light. Apply light to any shadow situations that are in your life, and you will watch them begin to dissipate. I hope that this was helpful for some of you. I hope that this added a blessing to your week and maybe caused you to think about yourself as a diamond. Maybe you're going to be thinking that you are also in your diamond season. But I want you to make sure that God's light is the thing that you chase after. No more shadows, only God's light. All right, with that, I am done. Let me try it one more time, see if it's any different. It doesn't taste bad, y'all. It's just so light. But the honey, I'm tasting more honey than if I'm being honest. A little bit of honey, a lot of tea and a little bit of peach is what I'm tasting. I don't taste any hibiscus, so but it's still not bad. It's not bad. So if you're a faint tea drinker, go for it. Go for it. All right, y'all. Again, I appreciate you. Have a blessed rest of your day. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and extend to yourself first. And then to me, your girl, a measure of grace. I will see you next week for another episode of Sipping Tea Season 2 with Stacey T. Bye, y'all.